Well, hi there and welcome. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And as we always say, it is your show. Each and every day, a topic is put out there for you to share your insights, your inspiration, you inform, you enlighten, your lived experiences. And today we have a part 2 of yesterday's show, which was about, what's going on with all of these, the shootings, obviously the one in Buffalo, New York subway. And it kind of came to a head for us deciding to do this show with the shootings, this very tragic shootings in Uvalde, Texas. So we're doing a part 2 of that program today. So if you were on the line yesterday, call now. And our call screener today is Jack Williams. He will put you at the front of the line if you call 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. Debbie.
And just a shout out to Linda and Emma and Paula and Laura and Karen and JJ and Judith and Emma. Call back if you want to share more or to get to the front of the line because you waited for most of the show. Some of you, I think, might have gotten on for a little bit. The show went very fast yesterday. That's why we're doing a part 2. Please call back and Jack will happily put you at the front of the line. You deserve to go to the front of the line because you waited most of the show yesterday. 833-288-3986 is the number to call. Please start filling up the phone lines. We're talking about, it's part 2 of the ways we can protect our children. We're talking about obviously what happened in Uvalde, Texas. Just tragic. You know, I was watching the news coverage of it yesterday, actually well into the evening, Jerry, and I was an emotional wreck. I mean, I was just a mess. You know, seeing the parents just, sobbing and, the shock. And the children just in like, you could see the look on their faces, they had some of the relatives of the children, not the children themselves, but the shock. I mean, it's a small town. And when that happens, I mean, how do you recover from that? It's always going to be part of your history. And it's so sad and so tragic. But we want to talk about ways to protect our children moving forward. That's what Take Two is all about, a better pathway forward, looking forward. So if you have something to say about what's going on in the world right now is the time to call in. Okay. We're not going to be doing a part 3 because tomorrow is our monthly unscripted show. And that is very popular it stands alone. It's a very popular show. 833-288-3986. Please fill up the phone lines. Jack is waiting to answer your call.
Mm-hmm. And Jack is being put to work right now as the lines start to ring. 833-288-3986. Moms, dads, grandparents, family members. It is this show airs at noon Eastern time, so it's lunchtime for many of your precious little ones at their school today. Out here on the West Coast, many of you have just dropped off your kids or sent them away on the school bus. I know your prayers are going with them. If you want to just kind of weigh in on what it feels like, to be a parent, to send your child off to school when these kinds of things are happening. God forbid they should continue happening. But, Debbie, you were reading, I think you said an op-ed in the Washington Post. I know you had some interesting things you wanted to say about that. But, our culture really needs to wake up and not just start looking at sort of these pseudo reasons why these are happening, but the real core reasons why things like this are taking place.
Yeah, that is true. I was on the cable news this morning. They were talking about this op-ed. I believe it was the Washington Post. Don't quote me on it, but they were talking about the teen violence and what makes teens, move to go to that point, where they just go all out and it's very violent. And they were saying that this is we're suffering the consequences. Get this, we're suffering the consequences of our teens not having social clubs and church activities and clubs, and now we're suffering the consequences. Really? I mean, really. So so on one hand, the world is making fun of Christians because they're saying we're behind the times, we're archaic, we're so old fashioned, we're not up with things, we don't know what we're talking about, God's not real, all that kind of nonsense that's happening. And now they're coming out with this great op-ed. Oh, wow, these are the consequences we're suffering because we don't have church clubs. Folks, we are in trouble, okay? And that's why I've been saying this for a long time, Jerry, because you know I'm very passionate about religious education. I've been involved in it for to over 25 years, okay? Please, pastors, if you're listening right now, up the budget for the teen groups, your junior high and high school clubs, please put in there factor in the funds for those groups. Don't cut those out of the budget, please. We need the teen groups now more than ever. That's what I'm going to say, and that's why I'm sticking to it.
Well, there really is only one answer to this, and we know that as people of faith. We know that God and His laws, the natural law, the divine law, the moral law, this is really the only answer to that. And of course, that is what has been sliced out of most education these days, not of course in Catholic schools and a lot of private schools and homeschools, but our kids are being taught a lot of things, reading, writing, arithmetic, all of that, plus how to choose your gender and things like that, and that abortion is okay, and that video games are just harmless and all of this stuff. But no room in that mix for anything of faith, any religion or anything, which is the only thing that is going to ground them and give them, Debbie, a moral sense of right and wrong. You have to be way off with your moral compass to grab guns, go into a school, and shoot elementary students to death and their teachers. There simply is there's no presence of morality in the mind and heart of somebody like that. And we can't judge this young man or any of the shooters. God will take care of that. But we have to really be honest with ourselves. Without God and without faith and without that moral compass, things like this will continue to happen.
That's the other thing the opinion piece talked about. It said that with this spiritual decline in the youth, the spiritual decline. Okay, this is why parents are trying to give their kids a really good foundation in the faith, and then they go off to school, they go off to college, and they come back after the first semester break, and they say, "Oh, I don't believe in God anymore." We have a problem, folks. We have a problem. We must educate our kids and make them aware that they're going to face this in the world. The world is lying to them, and that's not right. We need to tell them the truth, and that's what I love about EWTN and all the affiliates that do the hard work of getting the gospel message out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please pick up those last two phone lines. We need to hear from you. This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about ways to protect our children. This is a part 2 of the discussion. Please join us, 833-288-3986.
Живи в правді, живи по-католически.
Vivi la verità, vivi cattolico.
Mabuhay sa katotohanan. Isabuhay ang pagiging katoliko.
In any language, it means the same. Live truth. Live Catholic. EWTN.
This is Life Issues with Brad Mattis, president of Life Issues Institute.
The House Pro-Choice Caucus in Congress consists of members of D.C. who are dedicated to advocating abortion throughout pregnancy and forcing it on the American public. They recently came out with some languages, do's and don'ts. For example, don't use the word choice. Instead, it's now to be called a decision. Don't refer to conscience protections for medical professionals who don't want to do abortions as a refusal or denial of care. It makes the medical practice of protecting babies sound like a cold-hearted act against patients. Critics quickly pointed out the title of this group of legislators betrays its memo since they're called the House Pro-Choice Caucus. Regardless of the words they use, they're advocating for the killing of defenseless children.
Follow us on Twitter at Life Issues USA and stay informed, more informed than you've ever been.
EWTN Radio brings you the Holy Rosary twice each day for over 25 years. Tune in every morning at 5:30 Eastern for Mother Angelica and every evening at 9:30 Eastern for Father Benedict Rochelle, only on EWTN Radio.
Well, we thank you so much for your listenership and your participation in Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. It's your program, as Debbie mentioned a few minutes ago, 833-288-3986, a part 2 looking at just the horrific shootings and tragedies. And these latest ones aren't the only ones. This has been going on for a long time, and we're just trying to unpack this a little bit from various different angles. So please join us if you have something to weigh in on with. And before we go to the calls, I want to tell you that Sunday evenings at 6 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio Essentials, you can join the Franciscan Missionaries of the Eternal Word as they celebrate Vespers and Benediction of the Blessed Sacrament from Our Lady of the Angels Chapel in Irondale, Alabama. EWTN Radio Essentials is available on the EWTN app and at EWTNradio.net. That is Sunday evening Vespers, 6 p.m. You can join the Franciscan Missionaries of the Eternal Word, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on most of these same EWTN stations.
Okay, we're going to go to the phones. We do have a couple open phone lines. We'd love to hear from you if you have something to say about this. The number to dial, Jack is waiting to pick up your call. That's going to come straight in, and he'll chat with you for a few minutes, and you'll get to listen live. 833-288-3986. We're going to go to Karen in Stowe, Massachusetts, listening on our friends at the Station of the Cross. Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for being first up on the part 2 of Ways to Protect Our Children. Welcome to Take 2.
Hi, Debbie. Hi, Debbie. I can't believe I'm doing this. Yes, I can. One thing that has bothered me for years and years and years, Debbie, I know people have very well picked up on the threat or the damage done by a lot of the videos that the kids are all enmeshed in, but it's been so long. We have had movies, TV shows, all incredibly violent. Incredibly. It used there was a dietitian who she had a popular diet, and her motto was, "You are what you eat." And what people have been eating for years and years and years is unthinkable violence. And people shrug it off, and they say, well, they know they're acting, but nobody realizes the influence of this. And kids, but it starts with the adults. It starts with the adults because no matter what kind of upbringing a person has had, however good the person is, this feeds the mind. This puts images in the mind that at one time you would shrink, you would recoil from, and it's a steady diet. The desensitization is lethal.
Well,
and I really think that's it.
Well,
go ahead.
Karen, let me just share something with you, because we're in 2022, okay? But let's rewind all the way back to 2001, okay? 9/11. People don't remember this, but I was in religious education, and I remember it very, very vividly. Okay, does anybody realize that the kids in the junior high and the elementary school kids, when they saw those planes hitting the Twin Towers, do you know they had to mentally make a shift in their brain because they thought they were seeing a video game? They thought it was virtual. Okay, I know this because when I went into religious education class, the kids all said, "Miss Deb, it was the weirdest thing. We couldn't process in our brains. We thought it was all something we were watching on TV. We thought this couldn't happen. This is not real." And so they had to make the mental shift to come back to reality. Now, what does that tell you? That was in 2001. We're in 2022 now. And we wonder how these violent video games aren't playing a negative impact on our kids. Of course they are. You're so right, Karen. You put something, you don't need to be a psychologist or some great scientist to figure this one out. This is not, rocket science here. This is common sense. Okay, you put these kind of images in your brain over and over and over and over again. Eventually, it's going to become normal to you. And there's something wrong with that. I completely agree with you, Karen. And I also want to say too that I also think that extends to when we watch these quote unquote harmless cartoons, adult cartoons, and harmless sitcoms that they're doing the same thing. It's all propaganda. They're brainwashing us. And we're adopting it because we've seen it. It's been in our mind's eye. It's been in our brain. And then when we recall it, we go, "Oh, that was okay. That was pretty harmless." It's not harmless. It's an entrance way for the demons to come in. Go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
Right. Well, my feeling is that I don't think cartoons are bad at all. As a matter of fact, all those years of cowboy movies, You can't have this. The irony of this: a child cannot have a cat pistol that looks like it cannot be a cowboy. A child cannot be a cowboy because it's too violent for him to be a cowboy. We watched cowboy movies for years and years and years, and did people think it was okay? And even the shooting was quite straightforward. And we knew they were movies, but nothing was so gory, or there was not butchery then. And as far as the cartoons, the silly cartoons about somebody getting hit on the head and it didn't hurt, I do think those were innocuous. I really and truly do, compared to actually watching mayhem represented and not knowing. I remember, I'm going just a minute more. A few years ago, there was a very violent film, and some people were taking kids in junior high, and there was a question about that. Is the problem? Is that going to do damage to them? And I saw a comment in the paper, in the op-ed, and the man said, "Well, my son watched it, and he wasn't bothered." And I thought, my God, this is the problem. People should be bothered.
Sure.
And not to be bothered is an indication of the kind of thing. I wonder what that... Go ahead.
But Karen, I was just for clarification, I was referring to not like the Looney Tunes cartoons and those kinds of things. I was referring to the adult cartoons that are out there that families are sitting down together. And if you look at the adult cartoons right now, they are the subject matter is way above the kids, what they can handle. Okay. But yet parents think because I'm
glad you clarified that.
Yeah, it's all animated. They think it's okay. It's not. So I'm talking about the adult cartoons. So but I agree with you. Go ahead, Jerry.
No, I was going to say, Karen, thank you for the call. You've gotten my mind churning, and I have some thoughts that I will certainly try to weave in during the broadcast here, especially about the video games. But thank you, Karen, in Massachusetts, for being part of the program and leading off on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on this part two. How do we protect our children with all of the violence going on, perpetrated by children? Amazing, absolutely amazing. So thank you again, Karen. We're going to go to Ringley in Houston, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Welcome, Ringley, to the program.
Hello, Debbie and Sherry. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
My heart and my prayer went out to those got affected, especially those children and their family, and for me, it's all the nation. I'm thinking that lately, people start blaming who do what, and they blame the gun issue. But I'm really thinking that for the teenager or the young children nowadays, they have a lot of pressure and got affected by social media, gaming, expectation from school, society, and family. How, to me, is that it gets the whole nation to involve the family, the church, the society, school, so that we can understand and communicate with our younger children, so that easing up their pressure. Because to me, it have some kind of degree with mental issue there when they start, shooting and killing. That don't feel like that is a sin or a guilt anymore. So to me, it's that how can we communicate and get the teenager or even our younger children communicate and talk out their feeling and everything, so that
Sure.
That is.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for calling. If I may offer a couple comments, Debbie, first. I think what's the saying? When the horse is out of the barn, it's hard to get it back in the barn, and we are well down the path of kids living in a very, very different world. I mean, I was going to offer a comment for the previous caller. If I wish I had a penny for every quarter I put into Pac-Man when I was growing up. Pretty mild and innocent, and we've come a long way from there. But the thing is, our youth today, for the most part, are not living in the real world. They are living inside these violent video games. They're living in their gadget screens and the movies and everything. I had a stark reminder of this just yesterday. I was driving through town, and it was right around lunchtime, and the kids were getting out of school to go have lunch, and there was a group of girls walking down the street together, and they were not talking to each other at all. Every one of them was literally crossing the street, looking in their gadgets, and I thought, boy, I hope the light doesn't change, they might get mowed down. So I don't know what the answer is, Debbie. Maybe you do. In fact, you wrote your senior thesis on this, or your grad thesis on this, didn't you?
I did.
Adolescent spirituality.
Adolescent spirituality. Yes, I did, and I spent a lot of time doing case studies on the adolescent age group, and then going into the teens. But Ringley and Jerry, you make some really good points. I just wanted to say this though. I'm very concerned because kids, they don't seem like they have a direction. Now, some kids are into sports, and they're in the the arts, and they have that kind of future dreams that they want to pursue, or dance or something like that, and that's wonderful. But sometimes these kids, for the most part, it seems like these kids don't really know what they want to do, what they want to be when they grow up. And when I was growing up, I just want to hear your guys' comments on this. When I was growing up, I thought my dad was really hard on us 6 kids. I thought he was really hard. Okay, on Saturday morning, he would wake us up early, and we would be outside raking leaves and cutting grass and weeding. And I was saying every nasty thought and word under my breath, going, "Dad, I can't believe this. This is my Saturday." But my dad was right. Okay, getting out there and doing manual labor, getting out there and being productive, getting out there and doing something, contributing to this world, made us better people. And I'm concerned that when my husband hurt his back, badly, we couldn't get a single teenager on our street. And let me just share with everyone, we have about 20 or 30 teenagers. We couldn't get one teenager to come weed our front yard. Okay, my husband hurt his back. I was sick. We couldn't do it. We were going to pay a teenager to do it. Nobody wanted to do it. So guess who did it? Our adult neighbor, the parent of these teens, came and weeded our yard. Can you believe it, Jerry? Where are we at? Ringley, where are we at with that?
In the law school, I think, just like you said, the kids have no direction.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And that's sad, because if you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't really know where you're headed, if you don't know whose you are, that's a problem. That's a problem. And that's why, everybody's saying that this boy that did this horrible, evil deed and this horrible act, and it's terrible, everybody's saying he is evil. No, I'm saying he did a very evil act, and it was terrible. And he's got all of those souls on his soul when he meets Jesus. But that boy had major problems, major red flags, a major upbringing problem, and nobody seems to be addressing that. They just want to say he was evil, toss him away. Good thing he's gone, and they shot him. That is just that. I'm sorry. There's something wrong with how we're viewing our youth. Anyway, Ringley, thank you so much. God bless you. You're a beautiful soul.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call. Again, part 2 today, protecting our children, all of the horrific tragedies going on, many of them involving children, perpetrated by children or young adults, or it doesn't matter. It's just a culture and a world gone mad. Our phone number, if you'd like to weigh in, is 833-288-3986. We have Keith in Texas listening on Guadalupe Radio Network, and we're going to go to Keith next here on Take 2. Hi, Keith. Welcome.
Hi. How's it going?
No, pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing well. So I'm a teacher, so I have a little different perspective on this. I have seen a steep decline in the morality of our kids. I'm a high school teacher. I've seen a steep decline in just a short amount of time that I've been a teacher, less than 15 years, in just the way that the students are treating their parents, treating their teachers, treating authority. They have no discipline. And that's a big problem. But I truly think a lot of this problem, and I actually have a few points, but a lot of this problem comes from the public school system itself, because they really try to push these other agendas on our students that have no place in public education. Like when I was in school, we didn't have gay straight alliance clubs and have trans things going on campus. We had people who did Bible club and that sort of thing. But now as a teacher, they expect us to just completely hide our faith, but they openly flaunt their immorality and then invite our poor kids that are looking for direction but are just getting spoon-fed this agenda.
Keith, I'm glad you called, brother. Hang on just 1 second. You hear that music? Our local affiliates have some details and information they want to share with their listeners, and we will get right back to you. I'm so glad you called, a teacher with your perspective here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And we have Emma after that, and Jean in Iowa, and a phone line open, 833-288-3986.
Psalm 1, verse 1 says, "Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scorners." What does that mean? Don't hang around with bad people? No. According to G.K. Chesterton, it means something much better than that. He says that there are certain people who, because they are really pure, create a good atmosphere around themselves. They are truly children of light, and that light shines on everything they touch. So it's not that hanging around bad people makes us bad. It's that being righteous can help make the people around us righteous too.
Spend more time with the Apostle of Common Sense. Visit chesterton.org for more information, and go to EWTNRC.com to discover more books and programs written and inspired by G.K. Chesterton.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is on YouTube. Search YouTube to find the EWTN YouTube channel, so you'll never miss an episode of our show or any of your favorite EWTN radio shows.
EWTN's cathedrals across America and the Diocese of Columbus, Ohio invite you to a celebration of apostolic succession as they welcome their new apostle and shepherd, Father Earl K. Fernandez, from St. Paul the Apostle Catholic Church. The Mass of Ordination and installation of Father Earl K. Fernandez as the 13th Bishop of Columbus, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on EWTN TV and Radio Essentials.
Matt Swaim here. Tomorrow on the Sunrise Morning Show, we'll look ahead to the Sunday Mass readings with Father Hezekiah Carnazzo and Father Jonathan Duncan, plus news, weather, sports, and a whole lot more. Now back to Take Two.
Great to have you with us on this Thursday edition of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. The Feast of the Ascension of the Lord moved in most places, I think, to Sunday, but happy feast day nonetheless. And we're talking about, yes.
Can I just say something? I forgot to say this yesterday, and I feel terrible. Yesterday was Padre Pio's birthday. Just have to say that.
Oh, right. It was, yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. I felt so bad. I said I was sorry to him when I was praying last night. I said, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it was your birthday.
Yeah. Well, we celebrate his feast day on the show every year, so I think he feels covered in that regard.
Yes.
Well, we're talking with Keith in Texas, who is a teacher, a school teacher, talking about the, as he calls, the decline in students and their morals and their behavior and so forth in schools. Keith, you've got a unique perspective on this, so please feel free to share whatever else you would like to share.
Okay. So, as I was saying, we're expected as Christians or Catholics to hide our faith, but they get pushed this social type religion, if you want, every day with no consequences. Personally, I never did my religion. I would carry a St. Benedict's medal on my badge to keep evil away and that sort of thing. And I had a statue of Jesus washing the feet and that sort of thing. So my students knew that I cared about them and that I was there for them, and I built that rapport. but that's not the typical way it happens in schools. Another thing that came up yesterday during the press conference, Governor Abbott said here in Texas, we've had 60 years where 18-year-olds could buy long guns. This hasn't been happening for 60 years. Something has changed. It's not the fact that we have guns. It's the kids have no direction. And another thing is we need to harden these targets. When I would be teaching, I have a concealed carry permit, and I would carry mine to campus, but by contract, I had to leave it in my car every day. I was completely unprotected, and I would have taken not a single dime, and I would have happily protected every single one of my kids if they would only allow that. And it's these people say, well, we're going to have all kinds of teachers going crazy. Well, no, there's plans to implement this stuff to where you don't get crazy people that are going to be on campus carrying. It's a whole process, and if you notice the places that people go to do these types of things, it's schools, theaters, shopping malls, grocery stores, places where they know they're not going to have any resistance. And that's the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm. Keith, let me ask you this question. It seems like, the teachers, like unions and stuff, this is just what I'm receiving through the limited amount of news that I absorb and consume. At the highest levels, these things are being, these evil agendas are being sort of concocted and promoted and stuff. But on the grassroots level, what you're saying, are most teachers, are they really wishing they could do the right thing but feeling kind of trapped by, these demands that are placed upon them to teach some of these other, immoral things?
Well, fortunately, we haven't been pushed here in Texas yet to do that kind of stuff. But they are trying to implement these, what's called SEL, social emotional learning agendas, which is very similar to basically blame your race history for your problems today, and that kind of thing. But yes, the teachers, we have to be very careful who we talk to, because the vast majority of teachers are not in the same camp as I am. I had to kind of feel my way out to find like-minded teachers. And I found a good number of them on campus that additionally they said they would have happily protected their kids too if they were allowed to. So I know that there are good teachers out there, but we're silent.
Yeah, the minority maybe.
Or
Debbie?
You've been silenced.
And honestly, if I talk to anybody, this is bad coming from a public school teacher, I would never put my own child in public school or any other type of school. Homeschooling is the only way to go, honestly, because otherwise all you're doing is giving up all your rights to your children and putting them in custody of the state. They don't care what your personal philosophies are. They only want to see their agenda pushed, and they want to see their policies move forward in the future.
Yeah. And how's that working for us, Keith? Look at what we have. We have it's a mess. But Keith, let me. I just want to say this. We love our teachers. We just, what you do to shape young minds, especially you said that you're a high school teacher. Your teenagers are so blessed to have you as their teacher. Thank you for being who you are and being dedicated to the youth. I think it's wonderful, and I think more teachers need to step up, like you're stepping out in faith and sharing your views. We have to stop with the being silenced, because it's not working for us. There's more and more deaths every single day. I mean, every weekend, my husband and I on Monday, we cringe on Monday to see the reports coming out in Chicago of how many people have died over the weekend. But nobody seems to be saying anything. It's like it's just a regular occurrence. Yeah, there's something seriously wrong. Every life is precious, and every life should be defended from the womb to the tomb. And we're not doing things right, and we better get it back in order quick, or we're going to go so far off track that it's going to be hard to get back. But Keith, you're doing your great work, and you know what? Like Mother Teresa says, you're doing it, and so God bless you for that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I have one more thing. I'm sorry. You said that about us being fearful to put our faith in. What I would like to tell everybody is, yes, it's dangerous to step out in faith for Christ. You're going to get pushback. You may get fired. But what a badge of honor to be fired for such a thing. That's how I've always looked at it. If they want to fire me because I love Christ and I want to share that with my kids or with anyone that I come in contact with, what an absolute badge of honor that is.
And Keith, it has been since the founding of the church. How many Bible passages? There was just a reading, I think, earlier this week about the apostles, some of the apostles who, were thrown in prison, flogged and thrown in prison. And, then they were finally sent away. And they said, they rejoiced because they have found themselves worthy of being persecuted for the sake of Christ. So you're a good man, Keith. Thank you so much. Our prayers are with you. Yeah, our prayers are with you and with all teachers. Believe me, absolutely. Okay, great call. We're going to go to Emma, also in Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Emma is next here on Take Two. Hello, Emma. Welcome.
Hello. Yes, the reason for my phone call is it's ridiculous what's going on. And teachers, I feel like teachers are asked to swim with an anchor on their feet.
Good analogy.
It's in my state, there was a law that wanted to be passed that for teachers to carry guns. And I am a pre-K teacher. I'm like, imagine me in a pre-K class with a gun. No, I don't want that responsibility. No. I really feel like the office staff should have the gun. The security guard, if they're lucky to have one, should have the gun. It's especially in high school with teenagers too. I mean, you don't know where that gun may end up. So that's scary also. If you have 18 to 20 teenagers against one teacher, like, that's scary also.
Yeah.
So that's my idea. Like, why isn't the office staff, they're the ones, or security guards, if not the office staff, they're the ones with the gun, We're already have to be the nurse, the psychologist, the counselor. We have to be many hats. Many hats.
Yeah. Well, you're making. Go ahead, Emma. Finish if you like.
Yeah, it's. I've gotten to the point where I don't want to teach anymore. Especially, I'm scared to teach now.
And that is really, really sad, Emma. It breaks our hearts to hear you say that, because you and the majority of beautiful, fine teachers, you go into this profession because you have hearts for the children, the young adults, whatever levels people teach on, and the sacrifices you make, like you said. I'm involved in religious education in my parish, and our catechists, they're in it because they love to help form shape the minds and hearts of the young kids. And on top of that, most of them, like you probably do, Emma, they buy most of their own materials, the pencils, the crayons, the paper, the activities, all of this stuff. You pour your hearts completely into this. And as far as, teachers being armed or whatever, and this is a hot button issue, Debbie and I, we did a show a year or two ago on should we have armed security in our churches, and we got a lot of mixed responses to that, and I think that's very understandable. I think we one of the points that was made yesterday, either by a caller or Debbie or you or me, was, I think if we just had several layers of security before somebody could get into a school building, that very well might serve as the answer. Perhaps having, I was driving by a school. I was out late last night in the local high school. I saw the security guard driving around. So, there can be security put in place, I think, without necessarily burdening the teachers with that. At least those are my thoughts. Debbie, what do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. And Emma, I just want to say thank you because I believe you were on the line yesterday when we ran out of time. So thank you for calling back and accepting the invitation. Thank you for being an educator. Thank you for caring so much about our youth. I agree with you. I think that we could put things in place that could really help to protect everyone. But also, I just wanted to say, Emma, as you were speaking, this also extends to religious education as well. I was a director of religious education for many years, and I made it mandatory for all the parents to come to the very first meeting. It had to be mandatory. If they didn't show up, at least one parent did not show up, their kid could not stay in the religious education program, period. I was a drill sergeant about it. Why? Because at the very first session, I told all of the parents, if you think that these wonderful volunteers that are coming in and trying to spread the faith to your children, if you think they're going to be the counselors, if you think they're going to be the ones who are going to, impart every aspect of the faith and make your kids holy overnight, okay, you are really way off base. This has to come from the home. You guys have to, you are the primary catechists. You are the ones that have to be instilling this in your children. We are there to reinforce. We are there to help fill in the gaps, but we are not there to be the be-it, end-all of everything. And I had parents literally walk out and they would say, this is why we're bringing our kids an hour a week so you can make them Catholic. Okay, there's a real problem. Parents need to step up and really do the hard work. Now, most of the time parents are working overtime and they're doing great. Okay, we know that. But let's face it, folks, we're all tired as parents and grandparents. And when you have another authority figure that's going to take your child and do the work for you, you're like, whew, good, they got it covered. We need to go back into our homes being the domestic church, our homes being the place where our kids get the strong foundation. And I totally agree with Keith. If it were me and I was raising kids in this day and age, I would be homeschooling. That's me. What do you think, Emma?
I agree. I know with my nieces and nephews, we would take turns. They would come over. I'd take care of them during the summer, a week at a time. Then my other sister would take the next week. And it takes a village. It takes a village to make sure they're okay. And, and this was since my little nephew was in elementary school. Now he's finished college. He has his career. But it took everybody. Like my mom took care of them when they were babies. And, it takes everything. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I would echo that with one caveat, Emma. I would say it takes a village of like-minded people, because I think who was it was it Hillary Clinton or somebody used that quote or wrote a book about that or something. Whoever it was, I think their intention was it takes a village, i.e., we need to have our input on your kids too. I agree. Extended family is very important, and I would say, if it takes a village, then it takes a village of like-minded people, faith-based people, people with morals who really care about the eternal souls of our young people. Emma, great call. God bless you. We've got several more we're going to try to get to here. As Debbie said earlier, we're not doing a part 3 because tomorrow is unscripted, although unscripted is anything you want to talk about. So if you don't get on the air yesterday or today with these 2 parts of this broadcast, you can always call about it again tomorrow. Right before we go back to the calls, I want to tell you about a show that's still very near and dear to my heart. Catholic Answers Live is the first host of that program back in 1998. It's grown from 4 radio stations now to being exclusively on EWTN radio on several hundred affiliates. Coming up on their 25th anniversary next January, Monday through Friday, evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN Radio, and the best of Catholic Answers Live, Sunday night at 6 Eastern, right here also as well. Cy Kellett takes your calls and talks with some of the leading apologists and theologians in the church today, and as I mentioned, EWTN is proud to be the exclusive radio home for Catholic Answers Live.
I love Catholic Answers Live. Okay, Jean is up next in Carroll, Iowa, waiting so patiently. Hello, Jean. Tell us your take on how we can make our kids safe.
Hi, and good morning to both of you, and God bless both of you for a great program. Every day it's wonderful. I'm going all the way back to the 60s and the 70s, where I think a lot of this starts. Nobody's home minding the kids. The mothers have to work because of the cost of living the way it is. I know that. It takes two people with average salaries to make a decent living, a decent house, whatever. But nobody's home with the kids. They leave an empty house. They come home to an empty house. There's no bonding. There's no feeling like you belong in a family. You're just somebody who lives there. You eat, you sleep, you get up, you go to school again. There's no bonding. And both people, like Debbie just said a minute ago, both of them are tired. Nobody really cares to talk to you about your day at school. Or they may casually say, how was your day? But they don't really care. Nobody's there to hug you when you come home. And if you're a young child, to hang up your picture on the refrigerator to make you feel important and loved. All that's out of here because of the cost of living. I know that nothing's going to change because I don't think the economy is going to change anytime soon. But it's a shame because that's when all this stuff started. When women, and God love them, I'm a woman, I mean, gee whiz, and women wanted to work. They thought they'd be more interesting, I guess, if they worked outside the home. And sometimes that's true. But at what cost? At what cost? Look at the kids, what they're doing today. Why not? Join a gang. Oh, go look at some violent videos. Why not? Nobody's watching me. Nobody cares what I do. That's exactly the mindset. And it's not going to get any better until they feel loved and wanted and like they belong in a house and a home, not just a house, but a home. Right now, all they've got is a house. That's all I've got to say. I'm going to hang up right now, and I love both of you, and I appreciate what you do, and thank you so much for letting me vent. I appreciate it.
You can vent anytime, Jean. Thank you for the love, and we return that to you. We really appreciate it. Yeah, I think in a nutshell, a lot of kids are like independent entities right now. They're detached from their families because, as Jean was saying, growing up too fast. I think she is right on. I mean, in some households, certainly both parents have to work. That's understandable. I would encourage. I would encourage every mom, dad, couple to make decisions based on the well-being of your kids. And if that means making some sacrifices here and there, maybe that has to be done. If one of the parents, say, has to travel a lot for work, say dad's gone all the time, that could be a factor. Maybe you get a different job. I don't know. We're not here to tell anybody how to live their lives or raise their families. Just make prudent decisions based on prayer and discernment. And as parents, maybe you should have a spiritual director that either one of you individually or together meet with once in a while, because you're not given any greater responsibility. As one of my professors at Franciscan University would say, you're raising God's little images. These boys and girls are made in the image and likeness of God. They are destined for eternity, and eternity has one of two different locations for us. And so, obviously when the kids become adults, they make decisions for themselves and live their own lives, but how they're formed and shaped leading up to that point is just crucial. So
this just came through our feed here. Is that true that the actor Ray Liotta just died?
I didn't
realize that.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so sad if that's true. I hope I'm not passing on information. Just came through. Is that true, Jeff, that Ray Liotta died? It is. Oh, wow. God rest his soul. 67 years old. Wow, that's young. Okay, we're going to go to Julia next in Texas, also on our friends at Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Julia. Thanks for waiting and welcome.
Hi, thanks a lot for your program the last couple of days. It's been really a blessing. I just wanted to say that the Bible carries a history of this heinous evil that goes on. I mean, talk about the massacre of the innocents because of Herod and all the young children that were killed there. And I just wanted to say that the Bible carries so much, our spiritual life in the Lord and the way that we believe carries so much to help us through hard times like this and evil times. And it's like you guys have been talking, as a man thinketh, so he is. That's also something that the Bible says. And we have a lot of kids that are thinking the wrong way. Right now, religious education is so important, and we need to not just wait for them to come out to us. We need to go out into the highways and the byways and find those children like the shooter, those children that are troubled, because they're not going to come in by themselves. And we need to go out as a faith community and find them and encourage them and be what their parents aren't going to be or what can't be. Maybe they're into drugs or alcohol or whatever. And, you know, right now we have Hollywood media who are almost jeering. They're dismissing the sayings like, you're very much in my thoughts and prayers, or let's have this moment of silence. They're almost making fun of those sayings because they don't know the power that those prayers hold. And they are adults who are spreading a horrible, trying to desensitize our children and our adults out there against the power of prayer. Because that's all we can do right now. If shootings happen in New York or in Chicago, we can't go there. We can't fly there. But we can send prayer, and it goes supernaturally to those places that are needed. It's unfortunate right now everybody's trying to use this as a political ploy. You know, guns are bad, guns are bad. Unfortunately, it was a gun that took down the shooter. So he couldn't take any more innocent lives. And I'm sad for that. And there's a lot of people right now thinking about, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. But you know what? This is where we learn. This is where we learn from what we've done and go from there. I believe with all my heart that prayer is powerful. And I believe that our Lord's supernatural mercies enveloped those precious lives who perished during this horrible ordeal. And I will tell you, prayer is a God-given blanket. It's a comfort that we can offer to others, whether we know them or not. That's what you guys do. You're on this radio saying, if you have a prayer request, let us put it on our list, because you have a comforter who takes care of those prayers that are in your responsibility, that you said, yeah, we'll take care of them. We're going to pray about that. And there are too many people who do not understand the power of prayer, that understand that the only way that we can comfort those families and help them to not lose their faith in God and faith in what is truly good and true and right is by prayer and hoping that people will learn from this. Mm-hmm. God bless you.
Well, Julia, another great contribution to the program. Thank you so much. And I don't know how long it's been, probably a few decades. Was it Madeline Murray O'Hare? Was that the lady who led the charge to get prayer out of school? I mean, that was really kind of the tip of the iceberg, you know, when prayer was removed from schools. And you're right, we got to pray. You quoted several scripture passages. We, of course, have Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he will go, and he will not depart from it. And so, Debbie, my hope and prayer with this show, thank you, Julia, for the call. My hope and prayer is that we've maybe some moms and dads, grandparents are listening right now, who will take away some of the wisdom that our great Take Two family have imparted, and maybe some lives will be changed and saved, perhaps. Good Lord willing.
Absolutely. That's what we hope and pray for. Thank you, Julia. Christina, in Massachusetts, we're not going to get to you. You want to talk about Disney movies? You could call us tomorrow
yeah.
on Unscripted.
Love to hear about
yes,
that.
Please. We would definitely love to hear about it. Unscripted is very popular, Jerry.
All right. Thanks to our producer today, Jeff Burson. Jack Williams has been screening your calls. Thank you, affiliates, for carrying the program. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie airs again tomorrow with our Unscripted show. Bring whatever you want to talk about. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. St. Joseph, we really need your prayers.